In today's world, having $10,000 available to invest is more than just a financial milestone. It's a transformative moment. It signals that you've made consistent, smart financial choices, and now you have the opportunity to use that money to create long-term wealth and perhaps even achieve financial freedom. While it may seem like a modest sum compared to major investment portfolios, this amount can be the starting point of something much bigger. Whether your goal is to grow your money to $50,000, $100,000, or even beyond $1 million, what matters most is how you choose to invest this money and manage the risk that comes with each option. Before diving into aggressive or growth-focused investment vehicles, it's crucial to begin with a stable foundation. The first and most important step is to ensure your financial fundamentals are strong. This means taking care of high-interest debt and building an emergency fund. While this may not sound as exciting as investing in tech stocks or real estate, this foundational step carries almost no risk and delivers one of the most impactful returns on your money. Think of it this way. If you're carrying credit card debt with a 20% interest rate, every dollar you use to pay it off is essentially giving you a 20% return. That's not speculative or theoretical, it's guaranteed. Compare that to the average return of the stock market, which is historically around 8% annually, and you can see why paying off high-interest debt is so powerful. The stock market's return comes with uncertainty. Some years your investments may outperform expectations, while others might see losses. But the savings from eliminating interest payments are immediate and assured. As a general rule, any debt with an interest rate above 10% should be considered high priority to pay off. Reducing or eliminating these balances doesn't just save you money, it also brings mental clarity and peace of mind. You're no longer burdened by looming payments, and that freedom can allow you to think more clearly and creatively about growing your wealth in other ways. Alongside debt reduction, building an emergency fund is another non-negotiable aspect of your financial foundation. This fund is your personal safety net. It protects you from unexpected expenses, such as medical bills, car repairs, or sudden job loss, and ensures you won't need to rely on credit cards or loans in times of crisis. A good rule of thumb is to save at least 3 months' worth of living expenses. So if your monthly bills amount to $1,500, you should aim to set aside at least $4,500. If possible, stretching that to 6 months or even up to a year's worth can provide even more security. Once your financial foundation is firmly in place, the next logical step is to invest in long-term, safer investments that offer appreciation over time and are diversified to spread out risk. This is where index funds and exchange-traded funds, ETFs, come in. These investment vehicles allow you to purchase a large basket of stocks in a single transaction, which provides instant diversification. For example, if you invest in a fund that tracks the S&P 500, you're essentially buying tiny pieces of 500 of the largest and most established companies in the United States. It's an excellent way to reduce the risk associated with individual stocks while still benefiting from the long-term growth of the stock market. Over the past 5 years, the S&P 500 has nearly doubled in value. That means if you had invested $10,000 5 years ago, your investment would now be worth close to $20,000. And over an even longer period, this trend of appreciation has been consistent despite short-term volatility. While past performance never guarantees future results, this kind of long-term growth is a compelling reason to consider index funds as a core component of your investment strategy. Investing in index funds also gives you flexibility in terms of how you hold your assets. You can open a retirement account or a regular brokerage account depending on your goals. Retirement accounts come with tax advantages but also restrictions on when you can withdraw your money, while brokerage accounts offer more liquidity but no tax benefits. Either way, the key is to stay consistent and think long-term. Once you've established a base of diversified, long-term holdings, you might consider branching out into individual stocks. This area carries more risk but can also bring greater rewards, especially if you're well-informed and intentional in your investment decisions. Buying individual stocks means you're betting on the success of a specific company. That kind of precision can lead to massive gains, but it can also result in significant losses if your picks don't perform as expected. A prime example of how this can work in your favor is the rise of companies like Nvidia. In just 5 years, NVIDIA stock surged by over 1,500%. That kind of return turns a $10,000 investment into over $150,000. But for every success story, there are countless examples of companies that underperformed or even went out of business. That's why it's crucial to do deep research if you're venturing into this territory. Learn about a company's financial health, its leadership, its competition, and its future plans. Understand the broader industry and use that insight to guide your decisions. Never invest in a stock just because it's trending or because someone else says it's a good idea. One strategy to mitigate the risk of individual stocks is to diversify even within this category. For instance, instead of investing all $10,000 into a single company, consider spreading that across 5 different companies, investing $2,000 in each. This way, if one company fails, your entire portfolio won't be wiped out. At the same time, if one of your picks performs exceptionally well, it can still provide a meaningful boost to your overall returns. Beyond stocks, there are safer, low-risk vehicles where you can park your money if you're uncertain about the market or simply want to preserve capital. High-yield savings accounts, certificates of deposit, CDs, and government-backed treasury securities fall into this category. These options aren't meant to make you rich, but they serve as essential tools for financial stability. High-yield savings accounts today are offering interest rates between 3.5% and 4%. That's significantly higher than traditional bank accounts, which may offer a fraction of a percent. On a $10,000 deposit, this means you could earn $350 to $400 annually just by parking your cash in a better account. CDs function similarly, but require you to lock up your money for a set period in exchange for a slightly higher rate. You can find CDs offering over 4% interest for terms of 6 or 12 months. Treasury securities, such as Treasury bills and bonds, also offer attractive returns, often exceeding 4.5%, and are backed by the U.S. government, making them virtually risk-free. Although these options won't provide massive gains, they're valuable for storing your cash when you're in a waiting phase or trying to avoid volatility. They also make sense if you're saving for a near-term goal, such as a home purchase or educational expenses. On the other end of the risk spectrum are speculative investments. These include high-growth stocks, cryptocurrencies, startup investing, and even real estate projects involving leverage. These types of investments come with significant risk, but also the potential for outsized returns. If you're young, have a strong income, or are willing to take a gamble on a small portion of your portfolio, allocating 10 to 20% of your $10,000 into speculative plays might make sense. Let's take real estate as an example. Say you've saved $50,000 over time and are considering buying a property worth $250,000. With a 20% down payment, you use the entire $50,000. If that property appreciates by just 5% in 1 year, it increases in value by $12,500. That's a 25% return on your original investment, thanks to leverage. The property increased in value modestly, but because you only put down a fifth of the cost, your return is magnified. Of course, this scenario doesn't account for risks like vacancies, repair costs, or a downturn in property values. That's why it's essential to approach real estate with caution, due diligence, and a long-term mindset. Cryptocurrencies and startup investments follow a similar logic: high risk, high reward. These assets are highly volatile, can be difficult to value, and may become worthless. But when timed correctly or chosen wisely, they can provide portfolio-boosting returns. This part of your investment strategy should be approached carefully, and only with money you're comfortable potentially losing. Ultimately, how you invest your $10,000 will depend on your personal risk tolerance, goals, and time horizon. For most people starting out, it's best to build a strong foundation, invest consistently in diversified assets, and take calculated risks as your confidence and financial position grow. Remember, it's not just about what you invest in, it's about how disciplined you remain, how consistently you add to your investments, and how well you manage risk over time. This discipline and strategy will determine your ability to grow your wealth and reach financial independence.